This is Charlie Levine, the editor of Angler's Journal magazine, and if you're looking for a different fishing magazine that's not just about tying knots and learning how to sharpen hooks, but actually really dives into the stories that make this sport so fun and unique, please check out anglersjournal.com and pick up a subscription. Joining us today is one of our favorite photographer contributors who's always on the move, always sending us cool stuff from his travels. Mr. Brian Grossenbacher, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great, Charlie. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I really want to learn more about how you got into all the photography, but I kind of want to jump right into some of these, the Steelhead trip you went on to Alaska. You sent us all these beautiful photos that we're going to be running in the magazine. I was really curious to learn more about, where you guys were, and you're on this awesome looking mothership. Please do tell how that all went down.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is an amazing trip. We were with Travis Peterson on the Alaska Adventurous. And the Adventurous, it's a 56-foot boat, and Travis operates it as a mothership. And he cruises around, he's based out of Sitka. And he cruises around the Baranof Islands and even a little farther north. And he has two 14-foot jet boats on the bow with a big winch system, and he uses the mothership as kind of the docking station. And then early in the morning on the days that we're going to fish, we launch those jet boats and head up these kind of unnamed steelhead rivers that are sometimes 40, 50 feet across, maybe 100 feet at the widest point, and you're not seeing another person. You are in a temperate, not even a temperate, you're just in a rainforest, and it's you've got Sitka spruce, you have, this massive, old growth forest surrounding you, and everything is green and vibrant. And the fishing is really good too, which is a plus.
Yeah. So it looks like sort of, the boat's kind of like a motor yacht, I would say. It looks very comfortable and nice. You guys cooking out, eating these giant prawns and stuff that I'm sure they were catching right there. And those jet boats are funky too. What are they, aluminum? And you guys it's nice because there's no prop and lower unit to break off in the river, right?
Yeah, the jet boats are key to the entire operation. And without exaggeration, I actually went back through the photos this morning before I talked just to make sure that I wasn't exaggerating this point. But I have some shots of Travis and his guides running those boats in 4 inches of water. I mean, I was literally standing in the water. It wasn't over my boots, where I was standing, and they just went cruising right by. But and that's just another element to it. You mentioned the food, the spot prawns, that Southeast Alaska is famous for. We caught those almost every night. Travis would pull the Adventurous into these inlets, that were protected, and we would throw out crab or shrimp pots. And, we'd come back from fishing the next day, we'd go out and check the traps and harvest, what was, soon to be our dinner. And, it's, you've got this already a cool program. And you add the element of amazing food to it, and it's just a perfect recipe for an amazing week.
Yeah, it looked like you guys were having a blast, and the fishing. I mean, so I've never caught a steelhead. I grew up on the East Coast. I'm mostly a saltwater fisherman. Everyone talks about how people get like obsessed by these steelhead once they get into it. Was this fishery similar to, the spey casting that you often see with steelhead, or how's the program go?
No, a great question. We were because the streams are so small, the best mode that they have found is fishing with switch rods and swinging when possible, swinging flies when possible, but in a large percentage of the time, you're kind of set up on it's like a trout stream in all honesty. And these fish are holding in deeper pools and softer runs, softer water. But they're a lot of times, they're nymphing for these and either running an egg, yarn. And I know a lot of traditional steelheaders, kind of put their nose up at that. This is a situation where I've done that trip twice, and I've been with anglers that I have watched, make beautiful spay casts, and they can swing flies with the best of them. But in this situation in Southeast Alaska, on these smaller streams, a larger percentage of the time, the best way to hit these fish, or the best way to approach them, is with a switch rod and nymphing them.
Okay. And how steady was the action? Was it tough fishing, good fishing?
You know what? It was all river dependent. And, it's like anything else. You poke your head in and check it out. And unfortunately, you kind of have to make the investment of getting up the river, getting to the spots, whether by running the jet boat up as far as you could go and then hiking. But a lot of times, we'd get up there and the fishing was off the hook, and we were into fish, for the better part of the day, if not all day. But there were times, more than once where you'd hoof it up, a particular river, and you'd get up there and the fish just weren't there. And that's fishing. And, again, you were surrounded by, this amazing, forest, and the entire environment is just so pristine and cool that even when the fishing was off, it never affected us in the slightest. just an all around cool trip.
Yeah, it sounds like one of those where the journey is really 3/4 of the whole thing, and probably catching fish is just the cherry on the top. But
yeah, and even we would, if weather permitted, we spent a few days fishing deeper water for lingcod, and back then you could fish for the rockfish. And also just, throwing out the crab traps and, throwing out the shrimp traps. We had a day, just kind of an afternoon that was, one of the slower days. And we went back to the boat and shot around a clay pigeons off the back of the boat, and just had a big time, there. So there was never a shortage of things to do. And then, if you want to, if you're interested, Travis put us on pods of whales, multiple days up there. And for some people, that's their destination, is they're looking for, they're going out to see whales. And, for us, that was just an added bonus.
Yeah. Did you see any other wildlife? Moose, bald eagles, bear, any cool stuff?
All the above is there. We saw plenty of eagles, osprey. Fortunately, or unfortunately, we didn't run into any bears. And Southeast Alaska, from what I understand, the bear population is a little bit different. It's not like up around Katmai National Park where they're all around you. But they leave you alone. There's so much food that they just leave you alone. Down in Southeast Alaska, you want to pay really close attention to the bears, and in all of our hiking, we never saw a bear. I'm sure plenty of bears saw us, tromping through and just got the heck out of there. But we definitely treated them with respect, and we're certainly cautious as we're hiking around on their turf.
Yeah, no doubt. And well, it sounds like an amazing trip. And as I said, we're going to be publishing a bunch of the photos. And, I've been a fan of your work for a while. You've been at this for a good bit of time. And my understanding was, were you a guide, or you were working on a project and you needed some photos and you just started shooting photos? Is that how you got kind of into photography?
Yes. So I was a fly fishing outfitter in Montana for 18 years. I started in 1992, the year that A River Runs Through It came out. So I had the good timing. It was a nice shot in the arm for the fly fishing industry. That was the upside. The downside was everyone came out wearing their Brad Pitt fedora, and they wanted to learn how to shadow cast. And it was, you met a lot of interesting people that, wanted to give it a try and were never going to try it again. But I kicked off my guiding career in 92 and ran the guiding operation out of Bozeman. So we fished the Yellowstone, Madison, Jefferson rivers, the upper Missouri, the Spring Creeks in Paradise Valley. And in 2005, we were asked to write a guidebook to fly fishing Montana. And we worked on the book. We were just about finished with the writing portion of it. And our plan was to buy photos for the book. And when they gave us the photo budget, it was shocking, shockingly low. Not enough money to buy photos. It was a 120-page, book, and they wanted, full color photos. And so rather than insult some of the photographer friends that I have, I went out and I bought a camera and 2 lenses and started taking some shots of my own. Here and there with clients and, on all the rivers we fished, but we also had to cover the rest of the rivers in the state. So at the end of the guide season, I just kind of loaded up the truck and just traveled around and shot, kind of the rest of the rivers in Montana. And somewhere, I think I was outside of Missoula, and I just was sitting at a lunch spot and going through some photos on my notebook, and I just stopped and I thought about it. And in 2005, I'd already been guiding for a long time. Was kind of thinking of, man, am I going to stick this out for the rest of my career? Or what's next? And just sitting in this little lunch spot outside of Missoula, I just thought, golly, I absolutely love what I'm doing right now. And before the book was even published, Charlie, I started sending out, photos to different spots, different magazines, and the reception was surprisingly good. And if you go back to that time and you look at the fishing magazines, which I never did, I was guiding and I just never looked at fishing magazines, which turns out helped. But if you look at the magazines back then, every shot was a grip and grin, and it was, just change the face, change the fish. And it's a different guy, a different woman holding a fish every single shot. And I was photographing from what I liked to see, from not necessarily a guiding standpoint, but that helped. But it was just my take on what fishing was and what fishing was to me. And the reception was very good. By the time the book was published, the guidebook, I think I had, 6 or 8 magazine covers, and, was starting to do some work, sell photos to Orbis, and was getting the attention of, the folks in my hometown at Sims, and things just picked up from there. And,
Wow.
the same clients that helped me build the outfitting business kind of unknowingly helped me as well with photography, because I wasn't able to afford to travel the world on my own on a guide salary, but I was able to host trips, and I had a core group of guys that I traveled with, and we were able to go to some amazing destinations, and some of them I still travel with. I just came back from Baja, fishing at Los Locos with a fishing client that is my best friend. And, I started guiding him in 1996, and he went on just about every single one of those hosted trips. And, we still travel together and talk multiple times a week.
That's pretty remarkable. I mean, we get asked a lot by people who say, "Oh, I want to be a photographer. What do I do?" And for you to actually just dive in, and it sounds like self-taught. I'm sure you probably did your research or spoke to people, or just to figure out the cameras and the gear and everything. That must have been a bit of a learning curve, but it's pretty impressive what you've done, and your work speaks for itself, man. You shoot some great stuff, and what you're talking about with the grip and grins, it's so jives with our style. We try to, sometimes those pictures do get in the magazine, but we always try to get a unique look, which guys like you and the men and women who we work with on the photo side, I think have always appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you for the kind words, Charlie. That's really nice of you.
Yeah, and another project you did that really blew my mind recently was the book Trout with Tom Rosenbauer. That was just a fantastic publication.
Oh gosh, thank you for that, and many thanks to Tom, who reached out to me to do that book together. And what a nice guy, what a generous human being, and talented angler, talented writer, podcaster. I mean, you name it. And
Yeah.
I met Tom at a guide rendezvous with Orbis in 1994. Somewhere in there. It was my second or third year of guiding, and I remember he did this talk that really stuck with me. But his talk was, what are you guys waiting for? And he was speaking to a room full of guides, and he's like, you are the voice of the industry. You are the ones that should be writing and reaching the masses, because you're on the water every single day. You are an expert not only on your particular river system or your watershed, but you are an expert in the sport of fly fishing. Use that voice. And it like hit me right between the eyes. And I remember thanking him afterwards and introducing myself. And Tom says he remembers it. He has no idea. But I started writing back then, and it was with his encouragement. I don't think I ever would have started, but just started writing for various fishing publications. I was tying flies commercially as well while I was going to graduate school about that time, and I ended up writing a book on tying flies. And the book was kind of mainstream. It was it was the idea of it was kind of cool. It was a $26 book, full color, and it came with like a tiny little vise and a few hooks and the materials to tie, like a woolly bugger, and it was like just enough to kind of wet your palate. I had a small bobbin. If you liked it, you were going to pursue it and go buy the right stuff. If you didn't like it, you're out $25. And that was, that book sold, for a fly fishing book, it sold 60,000 copies.
Holy smokes.
Right? Now, here's the kicker. I was a terrible negotiator, and I just was stoked. I think I was, I was in my 20s, kind of late 20s, and it was like a book. Yeah. And to say that I would have done it for free is a bit of an exaggeration, but I didn't make a cent over the advance, just because of the way I negotiated the deal, and so 60,000 copies, went out to the general public, and that was enough. The print run, that was, they just ended it at 3 runs of 20,000, and I made the advance, or as I like to say, I made tens of dollars on that project.
Ooh, that's a heck of a run, though. I mean, especially in our little world, that's a significant amount of books. That's impressive. And, Trout. So for our listeners at home, it's really a coffee table style book, and it's just so beautiful. Big, giant photos. And we ran a little excerpt that Tom wrote about the beauty of wade fishing, standing in the river as opposed to fishing from a drift boat. But the photos, it just marries really well with Tom's writing, and he is a very nice guy. I can't imagine how many people he's helped fly fish in his career. And I think that book that you guys did together, it's inspiring. It's not so much educational, but I think it will definitely make people want to get on the water, which sounds like what he was telling you back in the day. That's a cool message. Helped you find your voice.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that book, it kind of represents, 10 years of travel for me, travel and photography to some of the most amazing, trout fishing destinations, all over the world, but quite a bit, on, kind of our, home waters in, the Rocky Mountain West, but the East Coast, the Midwest as well. And it was really an honor and a great pleasure to work with Tom.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because I always respected him for making a panfish like a bluegill or something sound just as fun as, some trout in Chile or Argentina or somewhere. I think he just likes the pull of a fish like most of us do.
Absolutely, he does. And when I was back east, we were fishing in a few locations, some of his favorite haunts, and the biggest distraction was people floating by or walking by, and they all know him. All know him. And it's like, hey, Tom, and then, and of course he wants to stop and talk, so it was that was really fun to see. But one other thing I'd love to add is Callan Wink did the foreword for our book.
It's so good.
And man, it's sometimes I'll take the book down and I'll just read the foreword. Callan, if you don't know, is an extremely talented writer. A fly fishing guide out of kind of the Livingston, Montana area. If you have a chance, read his book, August. If you haven't already read it, it's an amazing story. He's a beautiful writer, and he did us a huge favor by writing that forward. And I just couldn't be happier to have him be a part of the book. A small part in writing, but in my mind, it's a huge part of the project. He hit it out of the park with it.
Yeah, it's very, very good. And he writes for us, as time permits, I guess. But it was funny. I was just reading a piece he submitted that we're going to publish called Locals Only. And it's really funny. He kind of compares how busy some of his favorite surf breaks have gotten as to the rivers in, the Bozeman area that you were talking, or Montana, I guess. But he makes a lot of funny analogies about etiquette and dropping into the wave versus like the lineup on the river. He's a gifted writer. We're lucky to work with him too.
That's on that note. If I look back on my guiding days, and the Yellowstone in particular, which is his home water, and I have heard the horror stories of the crowds and the hordes of people. For most of my guiding career on the Yellowstone, if you would pull into a boat ramp and there were 2 or more vehicles there, you went upstream or downstream. You went to another place, because it was crowded, finger quotes, crowded. And you didn't know it at the time. I didn't know it at the time, but those were some amazing days, to have, you take the Yellowstone River, we guided on 150 miles of it, from all the way from Gardner down to, to Reed Point, and sometimes, rarely below, but sometimes below. And to have that resource available, a public resource was, and is, an amazing thing. But, I sometimes stop and pinch myself for the days and the people that I, was able to guide, and the friends that I made, and just the cool things that I got to see, and so many years of guiding in Southwest Montana.
Yeah, you're fortunate for sure. But you do a good bit of saltwater too. And don't you work with Carter on his TV show, The Session of Carter Andrews, that crazy guy?
Yeah. Carter and I have been friends for a very long time. Kind of my early days in Bozeman, we had a mutual friend that kept trying to introduce us. I was guiding in Montana. Carter was down in Jackson. Funny thing about Carter, first of all, he's the fishiest guy that I have ever met. And I would say one of the fishiest guys on the planet. It doesn't matter. I've watched him get intense, trying to catch a 10-inch brook trout, in Colorado. The same intensity that he brings, when he's out, setting up a line for marlin, in Panama, or casting into the rocks for cubera snapper. It doesn't matter what type of fish it is. Like, he is going to catch it. He's going to figure out the best and most efficient way to catch it. But he is talented, man. He has a gift that he knows fish, he knows the water, but he reads it in a different way. He'll look at a watershed, he'll look at the ocean, and he's reading it in a way that my mind doesn't work. And and this is 18 years of guiding for trout. My fish knowledge would fit into his pinky, and granted, it's a big pinky, but he is just so diverse in his knowledge and understanding. But the other thing that Carter has, he understands fish. He understands, the environment in which they live. He can read the land. He can read the water. But also, when he walks into a fly shop, or when he meets you for the first time, he makes you feel important. And he has a true gift that way. in that he truly, and it's sincere, we've all met people that are, glad handers and, Carter Andrews, glad to meet you. That's not it. He is truly loves talking fishing. But I have watched, people that start out the conversation just absolutely tight-lipped. They're not going to share a secret. And, 15 minutes into the conversation, they're inviting him to dinner at their mom's house, and they've already leaked, the best fishing information that they've ever had, and and it happens routinely. And he just has, the full package, and Carter doesn't care how you catch him. He's an ethical angler by all standards. He's not throwing sticks of dynamite. He is an ethical angler, but he will figure out whether it's conventional fly, doesn't matter. He just says constantly, multi-species, multi-tackle, and right, you need to become more of a complete angler. Yeah, and
he do that very well.
It's taken me years of practice and lots of traveling with Carter, but he and I, man, we have seen some amazing parts of the world. We've pulled practical jokes on each other. We have just had so many good times that it's really fun to reminisce. But
that's cool. He's another one that I would love to, I don't know him as well as you do, but I guess I've known him for a few years now, and I keep bugging him. I'm like, we need to do a story about you. I need to get you on the podcast. And he's just so busy. But when it happens, I'll definitely hit you up for some good quotes and lots of photos.
Yeah, I do have. I have both of those, and plenty of stories too. If he's not willing to divulge all the information.
Oh, that's great. Well, I really enjoyed chatting with you, Brian. I love your work. It's great to have you as part of the Anglers Journal team. And like I said, we'll be publishing that story on Alaska, and everybody should go check out your book, Trout. And yeah, man, just thanks for your time.
You bet, Charlie. Thank you for this opportunity to talk and just get some words out there. I appreciate your help and you guys using my work. Thank you.
You bet, man. Safe travels.
All right. Take care, buddy.
You too.